Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're starting. Okay, so today we're going to use multiplication and division. And this is tricky. This is the one thing you got to remember about solving inequalities compared with equations, because it's different. Right? It's not the same. Okay, and there's a lot of words there, which we don't want to, you copied this already. But basically, you have to know that, I'll write this in big numbers, big words here. When you multiply by a negative number, you must what? Yeah, you must flip the inequality symbol. Right? That's when you multiply by a negative number. That's what all of that says. It basically says you can multiply an inequality by a number. That's called the multiplication property of inequality. And if it's positive, no change. If it's negative, you got to flip the sign. Now, why would you have to flip the symbol? I mean, if you just look at a number line here, right? So there's 0 in the middle, 1 and 2, -1 and -2, right? And if you're to the right of 0, then 1 is less than 2. But if you're to the left of 0, -2 is less than -1. They reverse their order, right? So if you multiply by a negative, that's essentially throwing you to the other side of 0, where things are in reverse order. That's why you got to flip the symbol. Okay, so we'll do a couple of these. So solve. And they won't. This is not going to be the case for every time you multiply, right? This first one, it's not the case. Okay, what do I have to do to isolate the variable? Multiply by 4, right? The variable is being divided by 4, so you need to multiply by 4. Okay, multiply. Okay, remember, when you multiply, we multiply because that cancels the 4, and now we've got less than 20. And it says graph, so I'm going to graph. Hopefully the graph is the easy part. Open or close circle, left or right, left. Right, again, that's an arrow pointing the way. Easy stuff. Okay, you try. Solve that. Graph it. Okay, here we go. Right, x over 3 is greater than 8. What do I do to solve for x? Multiply by 3. By 3. So, cancel. X is greater than 24. Number line. Open or closed? Open. Left or right? Left or right? Right. Okay. Okay. X over -6 is less than 7. Okay, what am I going to have to do to solve this one? I got to multiply by -6. But when I multiply by a negative number, that means flip the sign. Now, personally, I try to be like, if I write this right away, if I say -6 times -6, at that moment, it's wrong because my symbol's still that way. So I usually don't write it on the same line. I'm going to write it on the next line and then change the symbol at the same time. -6 times x over -6 is greater than 7 times -6. Okay, now I can simplify. X is greater than -42. I mean, the reality is most of the time you probably wouldn't take the next step. You could just erase it on your page or just understand that that has to be done. -42, open to the right. Open circle, shade to the right. Okay, there's your you try. You're excited. Almost Christmas, but it's not yet. Okay? Quiet. Listen up. Listen up. Michael. Okay? What do I got to do to solve this one? Multiply by -4, right? And at the moment that I multiply by -4, what do I got to do to the inequality symbol? Flip it. So there it's a greater than, now it's a less than. Cancel. The -4's cancel. X is less than -48. Number line. -48. Open circle. They like these open circles, that's for sure. And it's that way. Okay. And try that one. Okay. What's the number that goes on the number line? -11.2. Is it open or closed? Left or right? So that is x is greater than, or m. Yeah, m is greater than -11.2. Are we all good with that? Yeah. Okay. So division. Division's got the same kind of thing, right? When you divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality symbol. So otherwise, if it's a positive number, nothing changes. It's just like solving an equation. But if you multiply by negative or divide by negative, then you got to flip. So bottom line is if you multiply or divide by a negative, flip the inequality symbol. You guys, it's too loud. Quiet. You're not trying very hard here, right? It's okay. Read you loud and clear. Okay. So what do I got to do on this one?
Divide by 3, -3.
Right? Again, I'm going to do that on another line so that at the moment that I divide by -3, I switch the inequality symbol. 24 by -3. So x is less than -8. Okay, open or closed, left or right. Okay, do both of those. Okay, so here, first one, divide by 5. Right? V is greater than or equal to 9. How about the second one? Divide by -6. -6. At that point, this is a greater than. So we got n is greater than -4. Okay, open or closed for the first one? Closed, left or right? Okay, open or closed? Left or right? Right? Easy so far. Okay, a student plans to spend, quiet, Callie. Okay, a student pilot plans to spend 80 hours on flight training to earn a private license. The student has saved $6,000 for training. Which inequality can you use to find the possible hourly rates that the student can afford to pay for training? Is 6,000 a number that is going to be like the top or the bottom? So if you have 6,000 to spend, is it going to be like greater than or equal to 6,000 or less than or equal to 6,000? Less. It's going to be less than or equal to 6,000 in some way. Okay. And now, if you're going to spend 80 hours flying, or 80 hours, but you don't know how much it costs per hour, that would be the R, then which is the inequality? B. Okay. So let's solve it. Divide by 80. Right. R is less than or equal to 75. So what does that tell you? $75 an hour is the most, right? If you call up the first guy and he says it costs 100, you say, well, I can't afford that one. So you call another one. Okay, check for errors. What's the mistake they made on the first one, the 28? They didn't flip the sign. Didn't flip the sign. How about the second one? Okay. No, what did they do? They flipped the sign. Guys. Okay. What did they do on the second one to solve? They tried to multiply both sides by 9, right? Now, I mean, this is a mistake you're going to make sometimes. Just because 7 is negative doesn't mean you flip the sign, because you're not multiplying by -7. You're multiplying by +9, right? That's the only thing that flips the sign, is if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative. Okay, so this is flipped sign. Okay, there we go. There's your homework. Right, you got a half hour. Need to work on the homework.